All right, folks. Hey, welcome back to Tracks and Tackle. It's Arrow Eagle and the Hollywood Horse. Say hello, Hollywood.
Hey, how we doing?
We're trying a little bit of different technology as we roll into the new year, and up until this point, we've been doing pretty much an audio log of our hunts and outdoor adventures. But we're taking a stab at some video recording, and we want to see how that goes through. So this is going to be a little bit of a trial and error for us to start this year off with this new episode. But you get to see our faces and know who you're talking to, or who you're at least listening to as we move forward. And one of the things we wanted to dive into as we get into 2024, we were, brainstorming topics, and certainly we got a lot of ideas of things that we want to cover this year. But one of the topics that we thought we definitely needed to do, and we were even talking about this during hunting season, because we would, even though we put a plan together and we scout all year long, you got to pivot, right? And there are different lessons that we learn along the way. Like, man, I won't do that again. So wanted to come on here and do an episode just talking about lessons learned from last year, or even years prior. So I'm gonna turn the microphone over to you, Hollywood, and tell me a little bit about your season, and maybe if you can give us an example or two of what we're talking about, because this is something that you really hit hard during archery season. You were pointing out all the lessons.
Yeah, there was plenty of lessons to be learned. Season was great. Couldn't have asked for a better one. But, it kind of became a running joke. We'd come inside and, talk about our mess up and be like, lesson learned. And we would say that. So that's kind of how we tied into it. We're like, hey, we got to do an episode on this. But, we brainstormed here a little bit. And I know a few that come across my mind, a little ones. And then there's some that go with a good story that's attached to them. But I'll just start off with an easy one. Maybe we can bat a few off each other, and then we'll get into the story ones, and we'll roll, because I'm sure you're involved in plenty of these stories, and we can share some laughs. But
well, definitely, I can give feedback and color commentary on some of these instances.
Right. Well, a big lesson that I learned is in the woods. Yeah, I previously would just use my phone flashlight just to walk through. But man, what a difference does a headlamp make? And if your phone dies, it's a hard way to find your way out. So having that headlamp, you keep your hands nice and warm, and you don't have to worry about that thing dying.
Yeah, no, that's I can give 2 cents on that one right off the bat, because you had this headlamp this year, and we've tracked quite a few deer together, and you've been a great help to me, tracking deer and running blood trails, and you probably remember, like I'd be like, put that headlamp down here where I can see it, because yours was brighter than mine. And one of my lessons learned was, because I'm a firm believer of the hands-free, get yourself a good headlamp like you talked about, because it does give you freedom to do what you need to do with your hands, whether you're hunting, whether you're getting into your stand, whether you're getting out of your stand, you're tracking deer, or field dressing, the deer, your harvest. But my headlamp was low on batteries, and one of my lessons learned when we talked about this was changing the batteries, making sure you have a fresh flashlight. So in my bag that I take out with me, I've got like 3 or 4 flashlights, but I always go to the headlamp. And the battery life in my headlamp was getting really dull, especially when I was with you, because in comparison, yours was so bright. And I had that happen where it was really, I had hit a deer. It was getting late at night, and I wanted to try to obviously track the blood trail, and it just wasn't very bright, And so I went to some of my backup flashlights, and they all had dead batteries too, because I hadn't used them in the past year or two. So changing the batteries and keeping them fresh, that's also ties into your have a headlamp. Makes all the difference in the world.
It doesn't hurt to be over prepared, to double check things and overpack versus underpack, which is why the next one I'm going to jump into is, I think we both can do this. Luckily, we have a ground man that runs it up to us, but if it's just me and you that's up at camp and we're hunting on top of the mountain, we need to learn from our mistakes in the past, and we need to bring plenty of drinks. Because how many times have we been on the backside of that mountain, struggling to get a deer pulled up to the side, and we're like, where's our ice cold Mountain Dews? We're rationing out, the last 2 swallows and just sharing back and forth, and just fighting to get this deer up. So a little bit more preparation, and bringing them victory drinks with us.
Not only just the victory drink, but if you're going to put out that long day sit, like with me, a good hunting buddy has snacks. We do cameraman for each other, and one of the things we say in camp is a good cameraman has snacks, right? So if you're going to do those long sits, you not only need to hydrate, but you need something to keep you warm. Create some calorie intake for those cold sits. But I saw this meme the other day on social media, and it was it basically said, this is what it looks like when you get back to the truck after dragging your deer. And the guy, he was just like guzzling like a 5-gallon bucket of water, and it's funny because it's true. Like if you're dragging a deer, now and I'm just dying of thirst. So it happens every year. Whenever I can even go out, I usually go with a bottle of water and maybe a soda, something a little bit sweet. Soda and water. But if you're dragging back, you're going to go through them pretty quickly, especially where we hunt.
Right.
All right. So I definitely concur with that. It's not just having something to drink, but you also definitely want to have some snacks and food and stuff while you go out into that. You touched on the flashlights. Another piece of technology that's really important that I learned this year was remember your camera.
That's what I got on here, Tacticam, because we got we've been searching for years to finally get some good footage. We got some nice doe harvest that we got good footage of, but that nice rack buck to get footage of, and you went out and you forgot yours because you switched guns, so you were so excited and wanted to get a good night's sleep that you forgot to switch it over, and it wasn't on your mind in the morning. Me, on the other hand, with the buck that I got, I must have been rolling around the leaves in the little bunker I made because it was already recording. So when I hit the button to turn it on, I turned it off, so you could just see a glimpse of the deer last second. So that's funny. I have that right here too, but I think there's a theme. I don't know if there's a theme in a few more that we're going to talk about, but for me, it comes down to preparation. A lot of them tie into that category.
Yeah, I know, like, whenever we get to camp, especially, it used to be really, really special when you go to the cabin before, like, the rifle opener. And rifle opener used to start on Monday, and so you had that whole, Saturday, Sunday weekend before the opening day to hang out at camp, play games, get your gear together, just double check, triple check, make sure you have everything together. But now, opening day's been shifted to the opening day's on a Saturday, and we don't have that same amount of time, even though we will probably go up on a Friday usually and to get ready and preparing to go out. I mean, even the transition, because we hunt archery pretty hard, and my rifle hunting gear that I carry versus my archery hunting gear, slightly different. Some of the stuff's the same, but I clean out my bag, and with a rifle and a gun, I'll hunt on the ground sometimes. I don't even need to get in a tree stand, but I'm always in a tree with bow and arrow. So, just funny, like you're saying, that theme of having fresh batteries, making sure you have the right tools, making sure you even bring the camera with you, because we've been trying for the past couple of years to get some good content, while we're out in the forest and doing our hunting and things. And, where we hunt, the deer, usually they pop up, they're on top of us. We don't get a lot of filming of them, coming from 300 yards out. And, it was crazy this year because I went to kill my buck and I didn't have my camera on that gun. But that's what happens when you change guns, and I was excited, but it didn't bother me one bit,
Right.
I still celebrate
to piggyback off of that, kind of as we go to camp early on, like the Tacticams, they're new technology. So we would play around with them and in camp before. And like on a good thing, like I feel like as a family, the camaraderie when we get to camp, it's more, we're talking to each other, the storytelling, and we're just chatting away with each other. That's happening, a lot more of late than it did, when I was a lot younger. We turned the TV on, so like we just kind of get distracted by each other and the joy of conversation. So I mean that's a good thing. But yeah, we just kind of let that on the back burner. And even when it comes to packing your bags, dressing in layers is a big thing for us as we hike up to the top. So I like to put a bunch of the clothes that I'm gonna wear when I sit. I jam it tight in my backpack, and I'm double checking because you don't want to leave your gloves behind or your hat. But
one piece of gear could really mess it up, can it?
Yeah, right. There's been a couple things that I borrowed from you in the past, but yeah, you want to hike up and not too many layers. That way, you start to sweat. Your body overheats when you get up towards the top, so you don't want to have all your layers on for when you cool off. So just a simple lesson that I learned is normally when I would get up to the top, I would get all excited, I made it, and then I would put on all my layers. But I just kind of learned, especially with these all-day sits, maybe just put on a sweatshirt, your bibs, and then wait till you get a little bit more chilly, then put that jacket on top just for a little extra warmth. Whether it's a mental thing or not, it definitely helps keep you in the woods a little bit longer.
Yeah, I think we all function a little bit differently on that, because I generally my body heat runs pretty warm, so I don't even usually don't even wear a winter jacket. It's just give me a vest and some long sleeve like a flannel or whatever, and I'm good. But whenever I go hunting, I was thinking about the opening day of rifle this year, how we were going back through and looking at our conversations, our text message conversation on the opening day. And what I did very similar to you. I pack a lot of layers in my hunting vest. I walk up with a base layer and maybe a long sleeve shirt, because I'm going to be perspiring to the point whenever I get to my destination where I'm going to hunt. And
you work harder getting up the mountain, right?
What's that?
You're in more of a rush and you work harder getting up the mountain, right?
Yeah. Well, we were replaying the conversation that we had, because we were texting each other like, hey, I made it in, I'm safe, I got to where my destination. And in my mind, I'm replaying how my morning went, because in the morning, I was on the ground, and I was watching this beautiful sunrise. You love nature, you love outdoors. I'm sitting out there, I'm seeing this orange and blue hues of the sun coming up, and the headlights down in the valley where the cars are going down the highway and things. And it wasn't long after daybreak, I'm gonna say maybe 8 a.m. I had some deer come into me, a bunch of doe. But because I was on the ground, and where I was tucked in, leaning back in against a tree and a down log, I didn't have any shooting to my right. I couldn't turn to my right. And, I was trying to maneuver myself so that I could maybe get lined up on one of these doe. And, they noticed movement. There's too many eyes on me, and they got to moving. And, just a little bit of action like that, seeing deer warms you up. So I'm still in my. I might have put on a thermal, whenever I got to my spot, but I still wasn't fully dressed with all my layers. And then what seemed to me in real time, an hour or two later, I got cold. My hands were getting cold. My body temperature got down because I was sitting still. I was on the ground. Those trees and the ground and everything absorbs the cold just like your body. I cooled down. And so I got to the point where I got off of my butt. I got onto my knees. I got into my vest, and I pulled out a sweatshirt, like a hoodie, and I pulled the hoodie over, and then I put my orange vest back over top. And then from that kneeling position, I looked up, and they were doe coming back. They're coming back to me, And so this time I was positioned a little bit differently. But I tell all that story just to say, you think you go for a long time between one adding layer to the next layer. But when we were going back through our texts, because after those doe came through, I harvested one of those doe, and you heard the gunshots, and I gave you a heads up. I said, "Hey, I got one down. I'm going to be working on it." We were looking at that, and you showed me, like, from the time that I got into my stand and said, "Hey, I'm all set," to the time I said, "Hey, I'm going to be, moving around. If you hear movement, it's me." It wasn't really hours later. It was just maybe an 45 minutes, an hour and a half, something like that. But real time, you think you can hack it, but you gotta dress in layers. And if you forget something simple like your gloves or your hand warmers or small preparation items like you're talking about, it can make all the difference in the world. You're never going to make it for an all-day hunt.
Isn't that funny how time works differently in the woods, especially when you're around your target animal?
Yeah. I mean, time, throw it out the window, because you can sit all day long, and I know, just like counting the hours to the afternoon, like in archery season, I'm in my tree stand, and I'm thinking, well, there hasn't been any movement this afternoon, but it's going to be go time closer to dusk, and counting those final 2-3 hours of the day. Sometimes when it's right after work and you go out and you just rush to get out in the tree stand to get the last couple hours of hunting, it goes by so quick. But when you're doing an all-day hunt and you haven't seen anything all day, those hours, it seems like it takes forever until the go time happens.
I remember opening day at the cabin. You had your stare down with Hammer, one of our target bucks. It never came in the range, just hanging out by this oak tree, eating acorns, and of course you come in all fired up. We wish we had that on film, right? But
oh my gosh, man, I was jacked because it was opening day archery, and this buck, I saw him from 100 yards away or whatever, right? And I was pumped. But I'll let you tell the story, because you saw it third person.
Whenever you came in, and we were done storytelling, you got the Tacticam footage out. The leaf was blocking him, but you can make him out. But you were just excited and curious to see how much time that deer is actually there.
Felt like an hour and a half where we were having a stare down with one another.
Right, I think it was only like half an hour or so, but
20 minutes.
It feels like an eternity. Yeah.
Yeah, I went through buck fever, man, because this guy, he was coming in, there was plenty of daylight, and he hung up under an oak tree and was feeding on acorns under this oak tree, what felt like an eternity. And it was just beyond bow range, like, let's call it 40 yards from the stand that I was in. And, my legs were shaking. I was pumped because he was one of our target bucks. And rarely do you get the opportunity, and all the stars got to line up for you to get an opportunity to take a shot at a target buck like that. But on the first day, I just remember my legs were jello, and I was in an old metal ladder stand, and the ladder was starting to shake and make some noise, and I was just trying to compose myself, and I would compose myself for time, throw it out, right, for what seemed like 5 minutes, but it was probably only 30 seconds, and then my legs would start shaking again. And anybody that knows the buck fever. So I was pumped up. I thought I had this stare down with him for an hour and a half or whatever, and then we come in, we check the Tacticam footage, and it was only 30 minutes.
Right.
But that's like fishing stories, right?
Yeah. But that's why we do it, man. That's why we live and we breathe this.
Yeah, and that's why we try to record too, so that we can capture these. I mean, even doing the podcast, we want to start sharing our memories. And I think I've talked about this in the past, but we would write everything down when we go to the camp. We'd write it down in a log because we've got a journal. And it would be fun to go back and read some of those things, over the years, all the memories that were made, and recall some of those things. But doing the podcast is another way for us to just audio document. This is what happened this year, and really enjoy making these memories together.
Right. So, all right, Ron, what else you got for us? What are our lessons? I know you got quite a few like me.
Well, one of the things that I put down, and I've been doing a little bit of the talking here, and I want to hear your commentary on some of my thoughts. But one of the lessons that I had this year was I need to make sure that I clean my broadheads and wash my arrows before going hunting the following year.
Oh, why do you need to do that?
So early on in archery, I had an opportunity to take a shot, probably mid-October on a deer, and it was right at dark. It's probably, approaching, that time of day where you should or shouldn't take, that dusk time, right, where you take that shot or you don't take the shot. But I could see the deer clearly. It was within range. I took the shot at the deer, but till I composed myself, I was in a climber, got out of my tree. I walked the 30 yards to where the shot was made to retrieve the arrow, and I was looking at the arrow. There wasn't a whole lot of blood, like you would see if you hit a deer solid. But when I looked at the arrow, there was a little bit of blood on the arrow, and then my mind started playing tricks on me. Like,
this guy doesn't miss.
Is this arrow the same arrow I used that I harvested my deer with last year? And is that dry blood on that arrow, or is that fresh blood on this arrow? Because it wasn't a great hit, but there was definitely blood on the arrow. And we went back and we did an episode where we talked through that story. But one of the lessons that I had was, you got to make sure that you come in with clean fletching, clean broadheads, wipe those arrows down if you do harvest your deer. Make sure that everything's clean so that next year one of the terms you use is like the fog of war is real. And when you're in the moment, your mind can really start messing with you. So make sure that your arrows are clean and you don't have old dried blood on used broadheads. That's a lesson learned that I had.
No questions from that. Yeah, the doe I ended up getting at camp. It's one of the things that first did. Like, hey, I got this arrow here. Let me wash it off. I remember Ronnie. So yeah, you learn from others as well as you learn from your own mistakes.
Right. Right. So like you learn from my mistake. You're like, I'm going to make sure this thing's clean. Yeah. One of the other things that I had written down as a major item or objective for next year, maybe doesn't affect you as much because you're a little bit younger than I am. And I remember when I was hiking that mountain, up the mountain, down the mountain, and running all over it like you, but I can't do that anymore. And I got to get into shape, and I can't wait until, a month before archery to start working out to get my lungs, back into good capacity and get my heart into good shape. Like, I've got to really work on that year through, because I can get to my stand, I can get into our hunting spots, no problems. But whenever you got to when you do harvest a big animal, I don't know what I would do without, a hunting partner like you and some of the other guys on the team that can help come in and help drag and, get them out from where we do go in to hunt, because I am out of shape, and there's nothing that points out how out of shape you are like when you have to drag a deer. So that's a goal.
Do you hear that? Sounds like a great New Year's resolution.
Yeah. I'm not one for resolutions, but this is a New Year's episode for sure. And I was just thinking, Sarah said to me when we were out hitting the grocery store earlier today, and there are people all over the place because it's the weekend, and she was just saying, well, I guess the gym's going to be pretty full here in the next week or two, because New Year's, everybody goes in and sets their New Year's resolution. But I gotta work on it. I gotta stay in shape, because the places where where the big deer are, you got to get to it, and then if you are successful, you got to be able to get them out. So it's a lesson learned for me this year. Don't take that for granted, and that goes with, just like you said, the theme of preparation. Right. I stopped mid-season, and I went from my compound, and I got some work done on a crossbow, and I harvested a couple of deer with crossbow this year. But you gotta, if you love to hunt with a compound like I do, you gotta practice all summer, and I know some guys do, and it's a lifestyle. And then I know other guys that, take a few shots the month before season opens, and that's what they do. So, some of my things that I'm going to go after personally, my personal goals, my personal lessons learned are, I'm going to try to get into good shape in the off season here while we're scouting and while we're fishing and we're having a good time. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna just let that go to the side. I'm gonna try to get into good shape, and then I'm gonna be practicing. I want to hone my skills and wait for the right shot, because the reason I went to the crossbow was I took a shot that I probably, you second guess whenever you take a shot on a deer and you don't harvest the animal. And that happened early this year for me, and I didn't want to do that again. So I got some work done, and I changed up my weapon. But those are my main lessons learned from this year, and I'm sure there are plenty more. But we had such a season this year. We could just go on telling stories about all the things that we had. Clean your arrows, remember your camera, batteries in the flashlight. But like a lot of these things are preparation. Practice shooting your bow. Make sure you're waiting for the right shot, because if you rush the shot, you run a chance of wounding that animal. And needing to be in better shape, man. That's definitely
right.
Something that's real important.
Everybody could be better at that.
What so with that in mind, we're thinking about how we're going to change and shift our goals for this year, like to next year. What's on your wish list? If you had a wish list for 24 season, whether it's specifically an equipment wish list. I know that we just got off of the holidays. We got some stuff for Christmas. Maybe share a little bit. Did you get anything good for the holidays?
Yeah, I got a nice new climber. So I want to utilize that more. I want to get out and have opportunity, and I enjoy going to different places just to explore. So, doing a little bit more scouting. But I'm excited to even look at it, see how it sits. You brag how comfortable yours is, so I want to get mine out and see what it feels like before I got to sit, 6 or 8 hours in it or a full day sit. So I'm thrilled to get that, a nice new jacket. But if I have a wish list, that's a good question. I know I've been talking about getting an IWAM suit. For those that don't know, it's basically like a big snuggie sleeping bag thing that you can move around in, but you can go out in jeans and a t-shirt, and you're almost sweating in that too. So just gives you more warmth to brave the weather when it's not ideal and it's a little bit colder, just to stay out in the woods a little bit more. Besides that, that's something I've been talking about all the time, but maybe more PTO that I can burn up in archery season, so I don't have to be more selective. But I
use it wisely.
Yeah, I'm simple, easy going, but yeah, little more warmth when I'm out there. Luckily, this season the weather wasn't too terrible. I think we had probably 3 or 4 days that we were out that it was freezing, but other than that, it was sunny and nice out.
Yeah, we've had it. It's been a really mild fall into winter. Even now, it doesn't feel like it's winter time.
Right. Hence, we keep talking about these late season freezer queens.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's tempting whenever it's not cold out. The reason I don't hunt the late season is because it's just too cold for me, and I don't want to endure that. But man, it was like 50 degrees on Friday. And I can handle that. I can handle it 50 degrees. Plus, I've got doe tags yet that I want to fill. So, do I need another deer? I've given some away. We've taken care of some people. We're going to try to take care of one another, with the deer that we harvest. But went through, and right now, this time of year, what I'm usually doing is, we're getting bologna made. We're getting a jerky made. I'm spending probably a little bit more time in the kitchen than I normally do. I was even thinking about getting some roasts out here to make this weekend for the holiday weekend and the New Year's. But I made my first batch of jerky this year, and long story short, I usually make it in the kitchen, and I didn't. I made it down in my garage, and the core temperature is different down here, and I probably put it in a little bit long, and it's a little bit drier than usual. So I'm a little unhappy with my first batch of jerky. And when I came out finished, it was a little bit too dry. The first thing I thought about was, well, I got another tag. I can replenish that couple pounds of bird crude that I burned, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, the jerky turned out well, though. You said you brought some to your coworkers, and what you showed and offered me the other day, there was like 3 pieces left, and I basically had scraps of it, so it wasn't too terrible. People still ate it, and I thought it was pretty good as well. But yeah, good plate. A little tough.
Yeah, isn't that the plight of the hunter? If you're the guy in the family that hunts, people love the jerky and they love the bologna.
For me, when you bringing bologna in? When's the jerky coming in?
Yeah, I think that's a common shared issue that we all have with one another that we can relate to. So,
right.
So other than PTO days, you don't have anything on the wish list, or is that something you're gonna have to think through?
I guess I'll have to think through, but yeah, just like I said, I just want to be warmer out in the woods when it's a little colder and just more opportunity. Yeah, that's one of the stories we said before. Even we don't run into too much action. We still can talk to each other about the chipmunk and just being buddies out there in the woods and just having fun, hanging around.
Yeah, just hanging around, enjoying the outdoors. I was talking to you, before we did the episode today. One of the things that I want to get into is like tanning some skins, and whether I start with small animals like your squirrels, your foxes, that sort of thing, or whether I get some deer hides and start caping them. I've never really spent a lot of time on that, but it looks to be like a fun project. I'm looking for things to do to keep my hands busy and projects to do that are outdoorsy type stuff for the off season. So, I might be put my hand at here in the early part of the year trying to get some furs. We got a bit of a coyote problem where we hunt. Had a coyote come into me in archery season. It's crazy, man, because they're cruising through there. They're hunting the same deer that we're hunting. I had one coming right into my stand, and I raised my cell phone to try to get a video of it, and then the minute he got that footage or noticed that movement, he like parked it, man, hit the brakes, turned, spun around. It's like a cartoon watching the dust fly when he was getting out of town. Because they're sneaky, but man, I'd love to get a coyote pelt or two and tan them and see what I could do with that. But these are some of the things I want to work on in the off season. It won't be long, man. We're going to be talking about turkey season and trout season, and the wheel keeps on turning. So just got to keep busy for a month or two until we get to that point.
Maybe we can pick up ice fishing in February.
I mean, ice fishing is it's a pastime. It's definitely a pastime. So, a couple of the things that I was hoping to get when I'm thinking through like my wish list, you said about getting warm. Like I need to get a new set of like winter bibs and a good heavy jacket to go with. I'd like to get away from having to layer up so much. If I get the quality, suit, I might not have to wear as many layers, because sometimes when I am hunting those cold winter days, I feel like the Michelin Man. I got so much on, I lose mobility. But, certainly after this year, I'm going to have to get some more arrows and broadheads. I've went through a couple of arrows. Got to get some fletching repair done. And, I want to get some updated trail cameras. We've got trail cameras set up on the properties that we hunt, but, one or two of them they're a little dated. So the images and the pictures just aren't. It's a little bit more grainy. It's not as good quality. Some of the new ones, man, you can get really high resolution photos, and I think it's time to update some of those. So those are the things. We went grocery shopping earlier today, and we were pretty close to the Sportsman's Warehouse, and I said to my wife, I said, why don't we swing by and check that out? But I really just wanted to go in and price some things. But you know how it is. If you go in and you price some things, you end up spending money anyway. So I decided not to do that. Came home and hit the record on the podcast instead. So
Yeah, it was a little tough Christmas shopping. My dad, he's an outdoorsman. He's been on the show. I'm buying some things for him, and I'm window shopping for myself too. But it's tough.
Yeah, we need to take an afternoon and probably go just hit up Bass Pro or someplace.
Nice trip.
Yeah. We should just do it and talk through what that equipment wish list for 24 is, because the season goes by so quick. But if I had to say how this season went, it was really an A+ season for us.
Right. Right. We're excited for the next one.
Even with lessons learned, right? So we just get better, faster, stronger from the lessons that we learn as we go, year to year. And
I learned like hunting is like the street drug. Like the crackhead goes back to the dealer because he wants more and more, and he just can't get enough, and he ends up falling into the trap, of addiction. Like here we are, we had a great season, but we're already talking about the next one. We always want that.
I got a little taste of success, man.
Right.
Give me another bump of that. That's the success, man. I mean, but that's it. Like once you have it, and the thing that I really, you hear me say it all the time, but it's doing it with friends. It's sharing the moments with other people. It's like people that are listening to us right now. We're sharing the moments, the memories with those folks. And, because if I did it, I could go out and have a good time, have a good hunt, but if there's nobody to share it with, like I guess it just takes away from the dopamine, right? It's not as great. So, hey, I appreciate you, hopping on here. I love the scenery in the background. I like the antlers. I love the fish on the wall, and you got yourself a nice little spot. I need to work on my studio here at the house because right now we were doing some mounts yesterday. I think I've got yours here. Let me show these off. This is the Hollywood Horses rack from this year.
It's like a great rack.
That looks really good. So
it looks like it turned out whiter, but maybe that's just because it's on camera.
Nah, it looks really good, man. It looks really good. So, we were down here working on this, and I had a little station set up. So, I just got to work on, getting a little studio built if we're going to continue to do, video recording, which I like. I like this format.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll do it. We'll take the audio from this and we'll plug it into the podcast. We'll upload this. So if you guys are listening, you're going to be hearing this probably first or second week of January. Happy New Year to everyone from the guys at Tracks and Tackle. Any last thoughts or commentary, sentiments for as we go into the new year?
Yeah, just enjoy the time with friends and family, and 2024, here we go.
Yeah, buckle up. It's gonna be a wild ride. So, hey, folks, we appreciate your support as always. Leave us a comment, like the podcast, give us 5 stars. It makes us visible for other people to tap into what we're trying to do here, and it's really just we want to be advocates for the outdoor living. Nature is our playground. And we do appreciate everything that the Lord has put us on this beautiful planet with so much craziness that everybody looks at all the craziness that's going on in the world. Man, if you just unplug from it and go outdoors and plug into nature, you're going to be like, it's so much more peaceful. So that's my words of wisdom as we go into 2024. Get outdoors. Plug into peace, center yourself, and join us for the ride. We're going to come back with more stories. Find us online at Menser Outdoors, at Tracks and Tackle, and until next time, stay wild. See ya.